Hello, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Economist, where we respond to your questions on economics, on political economy, on related matters to do with the environment, climate change, all these kinds of things that matter to us in our effort to safeguard our future and our prosperity. And we have a question from Bob who says, a windmill salesman recently visited my farm and tried to persuade me to put up windmills. Is it good economic sense? I don't want to annoy my neighbors. Can you throw light on whether it's a good idea? To which my answer is no. No, I can't, in one sense, tell you whether it's a good idea or not, because the economics of windmills is not the economics of markets. Alternate energy is massively subsidized by the government. And if you look into the details, there is a possibility that it would make economic sense. That doesn't necessarily mean you should do it though, because what makes economic sense to you doesn't always make economic sense to the community. And you've got a tough call there. I know you've got to feed your family, but you've also got to hold your head high and know that you are doing the right thing. And taking government subsidies, ubiquitous as they are in the modern world, is generally not a good thing. It's especially not a good thing if government subsidies are tied to a massive ongoing public policy disaster. And on that score, I can speak with some authority. Alternate energy, solar power, windmills, most of the stuff that's meant to be the energy of the future, which politicians have been touting and subsidizing, is collapsing around the world. There are horror stories pouring in from Britain to Germany to Australia about runaway energy prices, about blackouts, about companies going bankrupt, about governments backpedaling. Here in Ontario, apparently the government remains dug in. No amount of practical experience of the failure of its policy can convince it that its policy is not excellent. Although, of course, the Ontario government, having driven prices sky high, is now offering rebates to try and buy votes with its popularity down there in the cellar, knowing very well that the long-term cost of the province will be enormously greater because of this policy, but not caring. Now, that's the kind of thing a politician shouldn't do, but it also matters when you make your decision, am I going to put up these windmills or not? Personally, I hate these things. They remind me of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. I think they're hideously ugly. We also drive past these big solar farms, and I think they're aesthetically objectionable objects. Of course, I dislike them in part because I know they're economically objectionable objects that are not doing any good for the environment either. Somebody who really believes in solar power might think they were elegant and graceful and admire them as they turn to face the sun. I think they're awful. But when I look at them, another thing that occurs to me and makes me shudder is what happens when the government finally realizes that these things are a money pit, that they're not helping the environment, that they're not affordable, they've got to be decommissioned. Then you, the farmer, are going to be stuck with this thing on your land. And very, very possibly, you'll be stuck with this thing that is the property and responsibility of a company that has gone bankrupt and ceased to operate. How are you going to get rid of it? So there's a very real personal concern. You look at the contract, maybe you do the math and say, you know what, this is going to pay for me and I can live with my neighbors. They're going to be driven to the same thing, or at least they'll understand. But that's if everything works the way it's laid out. And if it does, it'll be a minor miracle, because the big picture on these alternate energy sources from around the world is that they're proving to be a disaster. Now, I've said before and I'll say again, if global warming is the problem the alarmists claim that it is, then almost literally no price is too high to pay to make it stop. We must stop burning fossil fuels if, which is a huge if, and I say it's not true, but if it is true that we are setting the sky on fire and destroying the planet and wiping out species and ruining our civilization, obviously we've got to find a way to make it stop. But if solar power and windmills don't deliver energy capable of sustaining our way of life, what sort of solution is that? You're in a real bind in that situation, and the advocates of alternative energy should be a lot more honest with us about the failings of these kinds of energy and the need to find something that works better. All of which matters to you as you try and decide, should I put one of these things in, even knowing that I'm benefiting personally at large cost to society. Personally, I like to think, if I were in your situation, and no one's offered me a windmill, so I'm not, I would say no. I know this is bad for society. I won't take it even if it would pay me. But whatever the decision you're going to make, the situation is this. Alternative energy doesn't work for society. It pushes up energy prices, it swallows subsidies, it's simply not viable in the market, not in the short run, probably not in the medium run. Governments do not have the kind of long-term vision that lets them see what will work in 20 or 30 years. Markets can figure all that out. Governments can't. So if you take those windmills, Take them with a real awareness that you're benefiting yourself, not your community, not your province, not your nation, not the world, and also that you might get stuck holding a bag that won't just be financially expensive. You may find the environmental liability of trying to get rid of the thing is a major headache, including financially. So I'm saying don't do it, but if you do it knowing what you're getting into and what you might be getting into. If you enjoy these commentaries, please visit my website, that's johnrobson.ca, make a contribution to help sustain my work, and also continue to subscribe to Freedom Talk and support the Economic Education Association of Alberta that brings you this feature.